"You're not our daughter anymore. Don't ever come back." Those were the last words my father said before slamming the door in my face. I stood there, shivering on the porch, holding nothing but a paintbrush and a sketchbook. It was my 18th birthday. If this has ever happened to you, or even close to it, then hit that like, comment, justice, and subscribe right now. Because what you're about to hear will make you believe in silent revenge. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked away. My heart was shattered, yes, but my spirit? Still breathing. All I ever wanted was to become an artist. But, to my parents, it was a disgrace. They wanted a doctor. A lawyer. Someone who'd bring them pride in front of relatives. Not a girl who painted city walls and sketchbooks with stories no one asked for. For years, I was told my dreams were foolish. My art was a waste of time. Every drawing I showed them was met with sarcasm or silence. Until the day I got accepted into the Fine Arts Academy. Full scholarship. The moment I shared the news, they looked at me like I was contagious. My mother clutched her pearls like I'd said something offensive. My father? He laughed. Not out of joy, but like I was the dumbest girl alive. And then came the ultimatum: either give up art or give up your home. I chose my soul. I couch surfed for months. Slept in subways. Painted murals in exchange for food. But every brushstroke carried one thought: one day, they'll regret throwing me away. But even I didn't know that one day would come sooner, and it would hit harder than anyone expected. 3 years later, I stood behind a velvet curtain. My hands trembling, not from fear, but from everything I'd fought through to reach this moment. Outside that curtain was a gallery buzzing with the wealthiest art collectors in New York. Cameras, critics, celebrities, all waiting to see the mysterious new artist whose work had suddenly taken the world by storm. They knew the name A.L., but no one had ever seen the face. What they didn't know was that A.L. stood for Alice Lynn. The girl who once painted under bridges and $8 pizza. But just before stepping out, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Your art is on the news. Your father just found out. He's furious." I froze. My chest tightened. He finally knew. Weeks before the gallery event, my street mural, painted on the side of an old church in Brooklyn, had gone viral. A reporter called it a haunting masterpiece of rejection, pain, and rebirth. What they didn't know was that the weeping girl in the center was me. The shadows behind her? My parents' offers started pouring in. Magazines. Commissions. A billionaire even offered me $1.2 million for one canvas. I never responded. I was waiting. Waiting for this night. Because tonight wasn't just about art. It was about revenge. Silent. Classy. Beautiful revenge. As I stepped onto the stage, the room went quiet. Gasps. Whispers. Then, a man in the corner stood up slowly. My eyes locked with his. It was my father. He looked older, smaller, but his eyes? Still full of judgment. And beside him, my mother, gripping his arm, whispering in his ear. Probably asking the same thing everyone else was asking: is that Alice? I walked straight to the mic and said something that made the entire gallery freeze in place. I gripped the microphone, took a deep breath, and said, "Every piece you see in this gallery was painted after my parents disowned me." You could feel the oxygen vanish from the room. Silence turned electric. The curator standing beside me looked stunned. He had no idea what I was about to do. I continued, locking eyes with my father, who was now shifting uncomfortably. My mother? She looked pale. As if the truth was finally too loud to ignore. I used to believe that family meant protection. That they'd support you no matter what. But sometimes, your biggest betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people who watched. You take your first steps, and then crushed your dreams the moment you tried to walk your own path. A wave of whispers rippled through the audience. Some clapped softly. Others just stared. I pointed to the largest painting behind me, 10 feet tall, framed in gold, placed in the center of the gallery. It was titled, "Daughter of Nobody." Painted in deep reds and midnight blues, it showed a girl alone in a storm, holding nothing but a paintbrush, while shadowy figures behind her, clearly a mother and father, burned her canvas. The details were raw, painful, haunting. And I wanted them to feel every second of what they did to me. "This," I said, turning to the crowd again, "isn't just art. It's my story. Every rejection. Every night I slept on a bench. Every time I skipped a meal to buy paint. And every moment I told myself, one day, they'll regret this. I looked straight at my parents. Today is that day. Suddenly, my father walked out. Just turned and left. No words. No apology. My mother hesitated, but followed him seconds later, head down. Everyone saw it. And everyone knew what it meant. Then something unbelievable happened. A man in a sharp navy suit stepped forward. Gray hair, glasses, powerful presence. He was one of the biggest private art collectors in the country. He pointed at Daughter of Nobody and said loudly, "I'll give $5 million for that piece. And I want the rights to feature her story in my upcoming documentary about visionary artists." Gasps. Cameras started flashing. Reporters scribbled notes. But I didn't flinch. I smiled and simply replied, "Deal. But only if you keep the title exactly as it is." That moment became the headline across art blogs, fashion magazines, even business journals. From homeless to millionaire artist, Alice Lynn sells viral painting for $5 million, calls out her parents publicly. But deep inside, it wasn't the money that mattered. It was something else. Something no one could take away from me anymore. Power. The next morning, my face was everywhere, magazine covers, news segments, online reels. But it wasn't the fame that hit hardest. It was the silence. After years of begging for validation, I no longer needed their words. I had created something louder, my legacy, but just when I thought the past was behind me, it came knocking, literally. Point 2. Days after the gallery show, I heard a knock on my apartment door. I lived in a modern loft in Soho now, high ceilings, sun-drenched walls, and a giant glass window where I painted each morning. I opened the door slowly. It was my mother. Her hands trembled, eyes swollen from crying. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile. Worn. "Alice," she whispered, "can we talk?" I didn't answer. Just stepped aside. She walked in slowly, taking in the place like she couldn't believe what I'd become. "I saw the news," she began, voice cracking. "Your father, he's furious you embarrassed us like that. But I'm not here to argue. I'm here because I made a mistake." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "A mistake? You both threw me out like garbage." "I was scared," she whispered. "We just wanted what was best for you." "No," I shot back. "You wanted what was best for you. So you could parade me in front of your friends. So you could say, 'Our daughter's a doctor,' like it was a badge. You didn't want me. You wanted a trophy." She flinched. Tears streamed down her face. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out something I hadn't seen in years, my very first sketchbook. Tattered, water-stained, filled with dreams that once lived in pencil and hope. "I kept this," she said. "I didn't throw it away. I just couldn't show your father I still believed in you." A beat of silence passed. My heart twisted. In a way I hadn't felt in years. Then she looked up and said something that shook me to my core. "Your father, he has cancer. Stage 4. He wanted me to ask if you'd come see him." I felt like the air was sucked out of the room. My thoughts spun. The man who disowned me, mocked me, walked out of the gallery without a word. Now, he was dying, and he wanted me? For a moment, I didn't know what hurt more, his betrayal back then, or the way my heart still ached for his approval now. I turned away, tears brimming, battling the storm inside. I had power now. Fame. Fortune, but did I still have forgiveness? I stood outside the hospital room, my palms sweaty, heart racing like I was that same 18-year-old again, lost, rejected, and unloved. The nurse gave me a soft smile and pushed the door open. He looked hollow, the man who once towered over me, with cold authority, now lay in a fragile shell. His skin pale, eyes sunken, but still sharp. The moment he saw me, he blinked hard, as if unsure I was real. "You came," he whispered. I stepped in slowly, clutching the old sketchbook my mother had given me. "You asked for me. I'm here." There was a long pause. Neither of us knew where to begin. "I saw your gallery," he finally said, voice thin. "People say you're brilliant." I nodded. "They do." "I didn't understand back then," he muttered. "Your art. Your passion. I thought it would shame the family. But all I did was lose the only part of our family that was ever worth anything." The apology didn't come wrapped in grand gestures or perfect words. But it came. And it was real. For the first time, I saw a man who wasn't just my father, but a flawed human being facing the consequences of his pride. "I painted every canvas hoping you'd one day see me," I said, eyes burning. Now I'm everywhere, and all I ever wanted was for you to say those words. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. I'm proud of you, Alice. Not because of the money. Or the fame. But because you didn't become like me. And just like that, something inside me cracked out. I walked over, held his hand, the same hand that once pointed me to the door and told me never to come back. Now, he was gripping it like it was the only thing keeping him from drifting away. He passed away 5 days later. We never talked again. But those last words stayed with me forever. Months passed. Life moved on. Offers poured in. I opened my own studio. Mentored young artists who had no one to believe in them. And every time someone asked me what inspired my work, I smiled and said, pain, rejection, and the art of rising anyway. At my father's funeral, people spoke of his business success, his discipline, his status. But when it was my turn, I took the mic and said, he built his empire through control. I built mine through freedom. He taught me what not to be. And for that, I'm grateful. The crowd was silent, but somewhere, I hoped he was listening because I wasn't just the girl they disowned anymore. I was Alice Lynn, the daughter of nobody, and now, the woman the whole world watched, and this time, they couldn't look away.